Well, it's David Duffett here again. I'm privileged to be the worldwide community advocate at SignalWire. I love to get involved in community activities around FreeSwitch, around SignalWire, and also around other open source projects as well, like Asterisk and Kama-Ilo, OpenSIPs, all of those kind of things. In fact, I'm going to be at both Kama-Ilo World towards the end of April and OpenSIP Summit at the beginning of May. But most importantly, I'm going to be, if all things go well, God willing, I will be at ClueCon in August. ClueCon is the 3rd to the 6th of August in Chicago, as it traditionally is. And I believe there is still a special offer on ticket prices. So if you get over to cluecon.com, you can get hold of your pass nice and early. And remember, the earlier you register, the more tickets you get for the draw and all those amazing prizes. Anyway, that aside, I'm very privileged today to be joined by Charin Joy, but we get to call you CJ, is that right?
That is right, David. I'm very happy to be here.
Excellent. We're very, very pleased to have you along. Our theme in ClueCon Weekly is talking to interesting people about interesting things. And when your name came up as a guest, I took a look at LinkedIn, and you've been involved in some very, very interesting things, CJ. I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about how you came to be where you are now. We were talking briefly before, and you were talking about things like taking risks and stuff like that. I think all of that you had to say would be very edifying and enlightening for the ClueCon Weekly audience. So please sort of talk us through it.
Well, David, I started my career as perhaps any other quote-unquote IT person, as a developer, typical person in the trench. But then I realized that in order to do something which is bigger than yourself, perhaps, you have to surround yourself with good people, smart people. I am not smart by any means. In most places when I go, I find I'm the least smart person, and that is good. That is good for me. I get to learn from others. So with that theory in mind, if I can surround myself with good people, people who are better than me, all I need to do is to coordinate and collaborate. That's all I need to do. So those are the qualities I try to learn. How do I collaborate? How do you put people together, make them do things? That is one thing. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I decided that I'll take a risk, and that will set myself apart from others. How is that? For example, if I would go for a job, or if there's an opportunity to do some large project, I would take some calculated or sometimes not so calculated risk. And calculated meaning, I would say, well, this can perhaps be done. There are a few things we have to do R&D, but I think it can be done. And I'll put my word, my neck out there, even without knowing very often if I'll be successful. But then the fact remains that if you're 100% dedicated, if you're wholeheartedly you try, the old proverb said that you cannot fail. We only lack what we cannot imagine. So once I would give confidence to my stakeholders, yes, I can do it, I'll do it, or to my boss, they would give me the job or the project, and then put my mind and body and whole soul to it, along with good people. I'll hire a set of very good people. And as I've told you, David, earlier, I've never been fully successful as such. But if I communicate well, if the people see I have tried very hard, even if I am 60%, 70% successful, I'm forgiven, and I'm given a better job, a bigger job. And that's how perhaps I've been successful. So in a way, you could say I've never thought of it before talking to you, but I have been successful by virtue of being partially successful in the past.
Excellent. That's really good. You just reminded me of a couple of things as you were speaking there about surrounding yourself with smart people. And obviously, I know you've been a bit self-deprecating there, CJ, but I can tell you are a smart person. But you're reminded when you were talking about surrounding yourself, it was that phrase, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And that's a useful thing to remember. And also, the taking risks, the getting out there and doing things. So often in life, just as a general thing, but we're focused on the IT domain. People don't take risks and they don't get out there and do things. And to me, that's a little bit like sitting in front of a stove and not putting any wood in it in the first place and saying to it, right, now give me the heat. I've
Yeah,
not put any wood into you yet, but I want the heat. And you have to give the value first, don't you?
yeah, exactly. And I tell myself, what do I have got to lose? In the worst case, I'll be unsuccessful. I'll be a failure. That is not really a failure. I think I will learn a lot. First of all, I learn a lot, and I'll apply them to the next project. So I'll be wiser. And even if I have to fail, these days we do things in an agile way. So we'll fail forward. We'll fail
Mm.
fast. And if I fail forward, fail fast, I have seen people are always ready to forgive. If you're honest, if you tell them upfront, transparently, look here, I tried ABC, all of them failed, but this is what it is. Could somebody do better than me? Questionable. Maybe not, maybe yes. But I did the best I could. I failed. But next time I'll
Mm.
do a better job. They will invariably give me a bigger project, better job.
Yeah, excellent advice. Excellent advice. And I think that keys into another sort of maxim, if you like, that there are no such things as failures. There are only results from which we can always learn. Great stuff. I feel that we're on the same wavelength, CJ. I'm enjoying speaking with you. Now, I believe that you're an award-winning CIO. Is that right?
That is right. I got that award twice, but both the time I was just happened to be the captain of the ship, and therefore I got the award. Pardon me. But the hard work was done by the team. Um, both the times it had something to do with the data. End of the day is all about data. Although the exact topic was a digital platform, the first time when I got CIO 100 award, but behind the scene it was all about data. And the second time when I got it was about data modeling, statistical data modeling, and that was truly about working with raw data. Nonetheless, these awards, first of all, does not go to the most deserving person, because it depends on who gets nominated. So certainly a privilege, but I must say that when you say CIO 100 doesn't mean I'm one of the top CIO hundreds of the world. And secondly, there's a group of people who works on it. I just happen to be the person who was privileged enough to have the team, and at the realm of affairs that I could go to the podium and accept the award.
Well, that's a lovely thing to say, but of course, CJ, you've played a role in assembling that team, of getting the right people in the team to enjoy that success. That's excellent. So, having talked a little bit about your background, can you bring us up to speed with the job you do now and the kind of things that are involved in that?
You're breaking up, David, but I think you're asking me what job do I do today. I'm the CIO of RandallReilly. My office is in Charlotte, but our head office is in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We are almost a 100-year-old company, so we have different product lines. But two things that I would like to mention. One is that, quote unquote, historically, we have been known as the digital company. We do digital campaigning, marketing campaigning. But what is more interesting is the data front. What we do is that we collect data of large equipments, heavy machineries, mining, agricultural, farming, and so on. All sorts of data that you can think of. And then we do modeling of those data. So what is the likelihood of buying? Who will buy that equipment next? Who should finance? What should the financing be? So this kind of data is very useful to the financial institutions, very useful to the dealers of heavy machineries, or even to manufacturers. So this is an area that I try to put in most of my effort, because that's where I think new innovations will happen, where data is the oil, as they say, which is true. So that is the part I will highlight about my company.
Right. It sounds very interesting. And have you benefited from this sort of growth of what people call big data, that you're able to get into more things and find more things out?
answer is yes. So big data just means it has gone through some changes, the definition itself. Initially, we used to call big data a lot of data. Then the time came when big data would mean unstructured data. And today it means so much of data, big as well as structured, unstructured, any data, whether it is from data is coming from Facebook to Twitter to video data to raw data. And how we have benefited is that even say you have a lot of data, a human being cannot see the patterns sometimes. It needs a machine or algorithm to see the patterns. So I'll give a simple example. Say you have a data and I'll feed the data to certain systems, certain algorithms. It will tell me, well, this is cyclical. Something is happening every March. You got to look and find out what it is. These kind of things or other insights you might find in big data, which you may not find otherwise. If I have a lot of data, thousands of data, then I can see the pattern. Oh, Roger Federer has a problem with his forehand. I see that, but that I have to have large amount of data, what is called big data, before I can come up with that pattern. So I think big data has certainly helped us.
Yeah, I think implicit in big data is not only the access to just higher volumes of data, but the ability to deal with that data, the processing power that's needed to look into it. And you said there that it takes machines sometimes to trawl through that and come up with things. And I believe one of the things that you're involved with is the kind of science, data science. The way, well, in fact, actually, I don't really know what data science means. So I wonder if you could explain that a little bit.
Yeah, data science, I think, is a term being thrown, but let me explain. First of all, let me go back to earlier what you said about computing powers. Yes, we do have Amazon, for example. We use AWS, we use Redshift, tools like that, which can help us process the data. If you're alluding to that earlier, yes. Those are the tools we did not have in the past, let's say 20 years back. So those tools certainly have helped us analyze the big data. Now, data science, when you say, my definition is one who can start with raw data. Raw data is just rows and columns, that is all. It makes no sense other than just numbers. I can take raw data and I can come up with some extract some information. So how will I do that? For example, let's take a very simple example. I'll execute a linear regression, the simplest of all regressions, linear regression. And linear regression will tell me the correlation is very high for this data, and therefore there is a meaning behind it. There is something going on here. Therefore, correlation is high. That is the R square, as you call in statistics. If correlation is high, then I'll take that data, I'll go to my business partner, whoever, marketing folks. Hey, you're spending this much of money, let's just say for advertisement every month through this channel, but the correlation is very high here. It's good you're spending, but in other channel the correlation is low. So why you're spending so much money here? I'm giving again very simple example, right? So this is data science. I'm taking a raw data, I'm finding some patterns, using statistical algorithm. Unless some statistics has been used, I personally do not call it data science. Data science is for statisticians. They do. Now there are tools. Data science is getting democratized. So there are tools you can use to do what otherwise a PhD in statistics would be doing. Either case, unless you start raw data, use some statistics to gather some information out of it, useful information for business. That is data science.
Now, isn't some of what you described also analytics, or is there a difference between data science and analytics?
There is not much of difference. Analytics, when people say analytics, normally what comes to our mind is a graph, is a pie chart. So the visualization part is so, but otherwise analytics is nothing but something to do with data. But in common parlance, analytics very often is perceived to be the visualization of data. But underneath, you're right, it is data.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, thank you for explaining that. Now, I believe one of the other things that you're into is AI, and I know that the ClueCon Weekly audience are also into AI. Where the rubber hits the road in the kind of things that we often get involved in on the telephony side is the implementation of bots. Just like you might get a chat bot on a website, you can also have a bot on the end of a telephone line these days that's going to react to different things that are said. Google have a thing called Dialogflow to help you create these kind of experiences for people. And of course, the idea of these experiences is not to fob people off with a robot when a human could have done, but it's actually to get people through to the information they need more quickly. But what's your involvement with AI, CJ, and what kind of things do you get involved in?
Yeah, I have been involved with AI for what we call AI today for 7 to 8 years now. And I'll give you a few examples to explain. In all the examples, it's again starts with data. Underneath is data. So on the surface, you may call whatever you want to call. You want to call deep learning, you can artificial intelligence, or whatever you want to call. But underneath it is data that is playing the role. Without data, you cannot have artificial intelligence. Period. So what we do is we take data. You mentioned chatbot, for example. We take data. Then we again have to come up with some statistics. Okay, you cannot do without statistics. Statistics is the backbone, but you could use certain tools to simulate what statistics otherwise a human being would be doing. But at the end of the day, when you find the model, you are trying to get a model. That model has to be created, and I prefer to do it using statistical algorithms. Once you find the model, that's the first step. And the second step is that you feed some data to the model, what is called training data, because you have to train the model. Training data is the clean data. That is all. These are the only two steps, really speaking. I'm simplifying here, but these are only two steps. You take the data, create a model. Model might give you, say, model adds 2 plus 2. That's all it does. Adds 2 and 2 it adds. That's all. It gives you 4. But sometimes the model doesn't understand, may not know, is it 2 or is it 3? Because you are feeding all sorts of data, sometimes dirty data, very often dirty data. So the model needs to know what 2 looks like. So I'm feeding some training data. So it gets trained. Okay, 2 looks like this. Some people writes 2 this way, sometimes that way, sometimes calligraphic 2 might come. So I have to understand different shades of 2. Once I understand, I can add 2 plus 2. So that's what training data is doing in the crudest terms. And once I understand, it will spit out 4 every time. I'm done with AI. That is it. So this part can be done for a bot. Bot now understands what you're trying to say, give an answer. I have created some bots which are fairly sophisticated. And for those, I did not use statistics as I had explained, but it was done by Lex, which is a platform that Alexa uses for for Alexa. This is the platform, and it's called Lex. So using Lex, I could say I have the platform ready-made. Some of the crude work I do not have to do them. I feed in that, but training data has to be given nonetheless. Alexa doesn't know how to train itself for specifically for your case. Your case is very specific. And now the chat is trained, so it will people may come and ask, show me your product ABC. It knows what ABC means because I've integrated the bot behind the scene in the product management system while all products are kept. So it will deliver. And since you asked the product, the bot will know, oh, here are the other similar products. I might show those products as well in the similar price range. I have fed the bot already some demographic data, and so the bot knows perhaps your income, where you live, so on and so forth, and it can get really, really intelligent. Okay, we'll have a conversation with you, And I can talk more about it, but basically here we have created a human being that can help you, channel you through the buying decision.
Right, and was the application of that also in? You talked earlier about agricultural machinery. Was it on that same sort of area, or was this like a different area of life?
This was a different one. This was in an e-commerce area. I used to work prior to joining my company, and we noticed that our conversion rate was only 1%, meaning out of 100 persons coming to our website, 99 people would just leave the site and go away. Only 1% conversion rate. So that is very poor. Even if we could increase the conversion rate by 0.5%, we're talking of millions of dollars here. And we would see that people would come and add merchandise to the cart and then abandon. So this is really bad. It's last moment something happened. What do they need? But people are very reluctant to call us or talk to us on the phone. We have a phone number, call us. And most people, including me, I don't like to talk on the phone. I don't want to pick up the phone. But if there's a chat, I'm ready to chat whole day and night, right? Click on the button and start chatting. But most chats are not so intelligent. It can tell you a few things and they're not very intelligent. So our challenge was, how do you create a chat which is so intelligent that not only it can tell you all that you want to know, not just what are your hours of operation and what is your order number, I'll tell you the status of the order, not that much, that any bot can do. How can I go above and beyond and help at the very last moment when the person has added something to the cart? At that point in time, I'll say, oops, yep, go ahead. Slight push that person needed, which we are not able to provide. And this bot will provide that slight push. Even if the push means giving him a 10% discount, for example. And bot would do that. We had trained a bot which, like a human being, had the liberty, like a salesperson has the liberty. Oh, I'll give you 10% discount. Go ahead. If you do it within next 10 minutes or something like that, right? And the bot would do that depending upon your past behavior, past buying experience, and so on. And it was in a different e-commerce company that had implemented that bot.
No, that's great. Very interesting stuff. And are you able to tell us what the result was in terms of improving conversions?
Yes, we did. It was not more than 1% when I left that company. But in e-commerce, as you know, first of all, conversion rates is always low. People come for window shopping and so on. But we had analytics there, Google Analytics and others. We could trace how much purchase happened via the bot. The bot, as I said, was a salesperson at the end of the day. It is not a bot. And we could attribute certain sales, and we are talking millions of dollars here, not tens of thousands.
Great stuff. That's amazing. So well worth the investment in that technology.
Very little investment. That one actually, as I said, we decided to use Alexa from Alexa. So we had few developers as pseudo data scientist. I played the role of probably some data science, if we call it at all, because the platform did it for us in this case.
Right.
And Amazon uses Lambda, which is the serverless, meaning you use their servers. We don't use our servers. So no infrastructure required. So we did everything. All the coding had to be done on Lex. We, however, had to integrate to our systems, our CRM system, for example, so that bot knows you as a client, as your customer, and your background. We had to integrate that with ERP system because all the POs, purchase orders were there. Integrate with the product management system, as I said earlier, so that it knows about all the products we have in our inventory. So this integration had to be done, but those are regular software engineering issues, not AI per se. We tend to make the bot intelligent by giving that information. But AI, although it was at the end of the day AI project, I think anybody can do it, in my opinion, if you use these tools that are available today.
Great stuff. Now, in your sort of general day-to-day, do voice and video communications ever come into play, or is it more on the kind of data and analytics side?
We don't have much of voice. I mean, the chat that we created, which is an old story, there was voice as well. One could talk to the bot. Yes, that, and bot would understand different accents, including my accent, believe it or not. bot would understand. But in my current projects, there is no voice. It is a data. But you see, just maybe worth mentioning, some of the data we receive for the equipments are really, really dirty. So dirty that they come in paper sometimes, PDF files,
Right.
different sources they come from. And those data that comes in PDF or written form has to go through the OCR technology so they can read. So it is not voice, but you see, we use OCR to read as
Right.
much as you can, extract data from those papers, X percentage, and then Y percentage maybe even manually has to be extracted, or by different machine learning methodology, we extract those data.
Okay, thank you. Now we're coming towards the end of our time together, CJ, and it's been very, very useful and interesting talking to you. I'm sure there's a lot of great information that people can pick up, not just the technical stuff, but the kind of attitude stuff, which I think is also important. But I also read that you've got experience in digitization, which at first hearing sounds like a very, very broad subject. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience and the things you've been up to there, and also just your definition, if you like, of that, because it's the kind of word that in different people's uses of it could mean different things.
Yes, digitization is used in different ways, and so I think I'll give my definition, which will probably fit into everybody's definition, and probably the simplest definition. That is, in any digital transformation or digital work that you're doing, let's start with the customer, what the customer wants. Start there, and then you trace back. If customer wants this, how do I fulfill that using the digital tools? Our offering has to be digital, but our end game is to make our client's job easier.
So CJ, let me just ask, when you say digital, our tools have to be digital, does that mean web-based in your definition there, or?
It can be, but let me give an example. This is not a transformation, not a digital transformation, but digitization nonetheless. For example, when I go to get rental car, and I can stand in the line, or you can go to the kiosk. So what rental cars did, and those companies, they have not transformed their business. They're the same car rental business. You can still stand in the line, but let's offer another way, another interface where I can go and get a car. So that is a digitization. I call it that, kiosk.
Right.
So it is not a web-based as such, but it's a maybe touch screen or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Or there are various examples. I don't want to go to Uber and all, those are big examples, but I know some of the shipping companies, they use chips in their containers to keep track of what is going on. So the problem was that they are losing track, where is the container, or at real time where it should be. I think there was a demand from the client saying, I should be able to track. And so they put chips or whatever, IoT, let's call it, some way to communicate with the containers, and they collect the data. They perhaps do whatever they do with the data, give it to the customers or draw some dashboard, whatever it might be. So they're using some digital method to solve a business problem. But unless you start with the customer, I think there is no point doing any digitization. That's my definition.
Great.
And
yeah.
then
Sorry, carry on.
Then I think you asked me what I was involved in. The only project that I would like to mention is that I was asked to create a digital platform. And that is not a big deal because there are several out there. And the one I created was very similar to Amazon.com in the sense that, but it was only for automotive industry. So not very different, that was not a new concept, but there was no such platform in the market in US those days. So it had to be done from scratch. A platform where anybody and everybody can upload the data. You have something to sell, upload it. We'll sell it for you. Not a new concept, But it is different from Amazon in the sense that even if you upload your inventory, I, as the owner of the platform, will decide what I want to sell, what I don't want to sell. Number one, what the price should be, and I'll decide that. Although you'll tell me the price, at the end of the day, I have to decide to sell or not to sell because the buyer could be another part of the world. So I have to consider the shipping cost as well, and so on.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of algorithms which are behind the scene we had built in, which Amazon doesn't do. Much more complex, but much smaller than Amazon. Amazon, of course, is the gorilla out there. We are much smaller. But that digital platform was done from scratch by my team. Very, very sophisticated, extremely data centric. We used to load data from about 14,000 partners, if you call it, every 15 minutes data would come in, inventory data and so on. A lot of data we're talking about, and how to process the data, how to store the data, how to now display the data and sell, and so on and so forth. So that's one digital platform that I had created. I would like to mention.
Yeah, very, very interesting indeed. Thank you for doing that. And CJ, thank you just in general for coming on and spending some time with us. We really appreciate it. It's been great to have you on. And who knows, as things move forward, maybe we will see you at a ClueCon live event at some stage. In fact, I'll just mention that before we clear down. It's August the 3rd to the 6th in Chicago. Lots of excitement there. We have a Maker Challenge Day where people can either code things up, or if they're not coders, they can actually make things with real life stuff like pencils and wire and all sorts of interesting things there. But the focus is, of course, on FreeSwitch and other open source projects. So CJ, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you along, and we wish you well in the rest of your career.
Pleasure is all mine, David. And if I get opportunity, I would like to come to Chicago. That is where I lived almost for 20 years before moving to Philadelphia. So that is my town. If possible, I would like to join you.
Okay, that's great to hear. All the best. Bye for now.
Thank you so much. Thank you.